verse. So this is on page 7 if anyone wants to join. Vande Shri Guru Gaurango Radha Go. Vande Shri Guru Gaurango Radha Govinda Sundaro Saguna Giyate Chata Gita Gudarta Gauravam. So we are continuing through the second chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita. Oh, Chintamani, I'm sorry. Did you want to open with something? I like that format. We have Chintamani open and Gangalila close.
Okay, by your grace. Grateful for this moment, grateful for the Bhagavad Gita appearing in our lives, the wonderful, sweet hidden treasure, the sweet absolute. We'll all just take a moment of gratitude together and let's unmute and chant the Maha Mantra 3 times together. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you so much, Vishakha.
Okay, thank you, Chintamani, Devi. So we're continuing with chapter 2. We reached this very important foundational verse in Karma Yoga, establishing the principles of Karma Yoga, or Nishkam Karma Yoga, selfless action, the yoga of selfless action, how to connect with divinity through the medium of selfless action. So we reach verse 47. Karma nye varikadaste ma phaleshu kadachana karma full hetorbor ate sango swakarmani. Your right is to your work, never to the fruits. Be neither motivated by the fruit of action, nor inclined to give up action. So 3, I think we did go through this a little last week, but we can review it again because it is such an important and also helpful and practical teaching of Bhagavad Gita. So 3 points, 3 principal points are made here. One, that our rights, our duty is to our duty. our what we have, or we can put it like this, like what is appropriate for us is to carry out our duty. However, we don't have any rights to the results of our activity. We must identify what our duty is and carry that out, but calculation of the results of what we are doing, that should not be included. No, we should do whatever we are doing because it is the right thing to do, because it is our duty to do so, not because we want to get some particular result for our own individual benefit. So that is the second point. Our calculation of our duty should not be influenced by what potential benefit may come for our own interest. But our duty, we can define our duty in a general sense, is that which is making a positive contribution to our environment as a whole. In a more specific sense, a more refined sense, in the line of bhakti, we will say Krishna's interest and the devotees of Krishna. But even if someone is not yet at that stage, in a general, in a more broad sense, what they conceive to be their contribution to the environment, to the welfare of the whole, the collective, not the individual. So even before, bhakti is the final conclusion, and not everyone is ready for that final conclusion. And so before that, simply getting away from thinking in terms of our own interests, that's a big jump. The general tendencies, we are just thinking about I, me, and mine. So to take a step away from that and to think about what is good for the whole, what is good for the collective, that is a big jump. and that's a far better place to be. So this is also what the Varnashrama system of India is built upon. This is one of the principal tenets of the Varnashrama system, this ancient Vedic social religious social system of India, with different, where the society is divided into different categories of duties and roles that they play. And this is the idea behind it, this principle of karma yoga, that instead of just acting in a totally whimsical way and engaging with the environment according to however we feel at any given time, try to live a regulated life, and your desires and your whims, your nature, you can try to express that in a healthy way, in a regulated way, in such a way that it's making a positive contribution to the environment. This is the idea of the Varnashrama system. Get away from your self-centered living. Think in terms of a higher good. Think in terms of a collective good. This is the idea. And so this is all permeated by this spirit of selflessness, that I'm acting not just for myself, but I'm acting for another cause, a higher cause, a greater cause. And it's very purifying to live in such a spirit. It's a very purifying way to live. Because this mode of living, it will start to clear the filters of selfish interest that cloud our vision. If we're not feeding the random whims that we have, if we're not feeding into them, then they'll start to dry up. If we're just living in a spirit of selflessness, then these filters will start to disappear. And then we begin to contact a higher plane of life, a more subtle plane, the plane of spirit. We'll begin to feel it. We'll begin to tangibly feel that. Just as somebody may feel that they've eaten a good breakfast, so they will feel they've contacted Atma, they've contacted Paramatma. One will begin to feel that once you clear away the garbage, right? Clear away the covers, then that light will begin to shine through. So this principle of karma yoga, it's very powerful. So these first 2 points, your right is to your duty, but you don't have any right to the results of your duty. And then there's also a third warning here. So don't be motivated by the results of your action, the fruits of your action, but nor should you be tempted to give up your duty, because that's the other pitfall, right, that one may fall into. Oh, well, if I'm not entitled to the results of what I do, then there's no point in doing it. I would rather just not do it at all. I'd rather, I think I mentioned last week, I'd rather just, live on welfare, just live on government money and, watch TV and eat microwaved junk food. Just live a comfortable life on the couch. What's the point of working hard when, I'm not really entitled to it, to the results of that? No. And so another point, so there are a few surrounding points here. I don't think we had time to go into last week, or maybe we did, I can't remember now. But it's always nice to review, at least for me. So one of the interesting points here is that, because we may ask, well, oh, hey, Divya Shakti Didi's, she's connecting, Divya Shakti. That's exciting. So one of the interesting points here, we may ask, why is it Dandavat Divya Shakti Didi? we're missing you here. Sorry, I got an insect bite on my eye, so I'm wearing sunglasses. We're here in Texas. So Bimala arrived. Bimala's here, and Dinar Taharo, and we have a beautiful group congregating here. And Lilavati is arriving today, and Ananta Govinda is arriving tomorrow, having a little mini festival here, and we're having a big camp out over the weekend. Anyway, so going back to the text, you know, so this point is raised, right? You know, like we may say this is the ahankar, right? The ego will flare up and say, well, hang on, I put in the hard work. It was my idea. I did it. And therefore, the results that are coming in, I own them, right? No, I set up my permaculture garden. I invested in it. It was my idea, et cetera, et cetera. So I own everything. I own all the fruits and flowers and vegetables and everything that's coming out of that. It's all me. You know, how can you say that that's not my property when I put all the energy in? I did that. You know, this is the question that is raised. Well, let's deconstruct that. You know, did we create soil? You know, did we create the growing process, the germination process? Did we invent that? You know, did we create our own bodies and our ability to do anything? You know, our consciousness, are we the source of our own consciousness, of our own brain power, or physical power to do anything? Are we the originators of all of that? Did we create the sunlight? Did we create the rain, the water, all these things? You know, if we think about it, if we think of all the factors that are involved in you know, in a garden being successful, we play a very tiny role in there. And there's a verse later in Bhagavad Gita, unfortunately, I can't remember right now, but it's a verse later on, which outlines all the different factors which are behind any action. You know, behind any action taking place, there are so many different factors involved. You know, the Lord's will, of course, primarily, fundamentally. And then there are so many different energies, you know, which are, you know, it's said that there's a devata, you know, there's a deva, there's a god who is responsible for every type of function that takes place, even within our own bodies. You know, there's a devata, a god who is, you know, controlling that, allowing that, you know, empowering that. You know, but even if somebody doesn't believe in that, you know, even if someone doesn't have faith in a, you know, in divinity, it is actually just common sense. You know, there are so many other forces at work. There are so many other, there's so much cooperation from different forces, different elements that is required for an action, for a desired result to take place, right? You know, and we just mentioned a number of them, you know, the sun, the rain, the moon is also involved in the growing of plants, the earth. It's just common sense, right? You know, and just because we are these, you know, egotistical Americans, I'm American, so I can say that. We're coming in to colonize, and you know, we created this. You know, there's so many examples, right, that we've seen throughout history of, like, you know, tribal cultures living peacefully in harmony with the environment, and then we have the white guys coming in, you know, colonizing, right, and asserting control, right, asserting authority. But just because we've done that, it doesn't mean that we're actually the controller of that. All we did was we asserted our ego, we asserted our ahankara. No, we decided that we own this. We say that we're making a monopoly of this, and we're going to control it and distribute it, etc. But is that actually the case? No, that's just our ego. That's just our ahankara. So with broader vision, with deeper vision, then we will see that I'm just like a tiny little factor in this whole operation that's taking place. And therefore, how can I have the gall to think that I own all of this? It is all the Lord's property. And I'm just like a caretaker. This is the vision of the Vaishnava, of the devotee. I'm a caretaker of whatever wealth or property resource comes to me. I'm just a caretaker. And sometimes I may have some things in my care. Other times I may not have things in my care. Sometimes I may have money in my care, and sometimes I may not have money in my care. But I'm just a caretaker. I'm just a humble caretaker. This is of the Lord's property. This is the vision of the saints, of the Vaishnavas. So we are trying to move towards that. But so it is this ahankar which clouds our vision and causes us to, the vision, the ahankar, the ego, it's like a loud noise that eclipses, so many other, the beautiful symphony, right? Let's say there's a beautiful symphony that's playing, and we're just like, our ego's like this loud noise that's drowning out this beautiful, subtle symphony playing in the background. And we can't hear that. We're just hearing our own noise and seeing ourselves as the center, and we can't hear anything else. So when the noise of our ego becomes diminished, quiets down, then we can hear all these other voices, these beautiful, sweet voices that are playing in the atmosphere. And we will appreciate all the other contributing agents, in whatever is taking place. So another thing I wanted to mention here, and going back to a point I believe I made when we started our new journey here with Bhagavad Gita, is that one thing to bear in mind as we're going through these verses is that, many of these verses, they can be read on two levels. On one level, we can read the verses in the immediate context of where they appear. That's one way in which we can read these verses. But we can also take some of these verses outside of their immediate context, and we can apply them to the practice of devotion. And so, for example, the teachings of Karma Yoga, they're so nice because they allow for a smooth transition to bhakti, right? It's kind of like you just add Krishna. Once you get to the bhakti stage, the stage of devotion, you just add Krishna. So if we take this, for example, right? In Karma Yoga, there's this emphasis on removing your own attachment. So it's kind of like Karma Yoga's clearing the way, right? Karma Yoga's sweeping the garbage. And then bhakti is putting something beautiful there. Now you've cleaned up the space. Now we can plant something beautiful there. We've removed all the old, rotten leaves from the garden. We removed all the awkward rocks, etc. And now we can plant something beautiful, some beautiful flowers there. This is kind of like the relationship between Karma Yoga and Bhakti Yoga. So for example, here in this verse we just read, verse 47, the advice is that we are removing our selfish, we're removing our selfish desires in the course of our daily activities. We are trying to become removed from our selfish vision and just trying to focus on duty. So instead of doing things that will make me feel good, that benefit me, but don't necessarily benefit others, instead of living like that, we will try to think, what can I do that is good for the whole? What can I do that is good for the collective? That's the idea of Karma Yoga. Becoming indifferent to our own selfish interest. Then Bhakti Yoga there's a shift in Bhakti Yoga where instead of just becoming free of your own interest, there's a plus there, and that's Krishna. What's in Krishna's interest? What's in the higher interest? Then things start to become more personal. It's not like a general, vague kind of idea or practice, but it becomes more specific and positively focused, more positive, focused on something positive rather than removing something negative, or in a vague way thinking about the collective. But specifically, what is in Krishna's interest? What is pleasing to Krishna and to the devotees of Krishna? This is the mood in bhakti. So it's a very this practice of karma yoga allows for a smooth transition to bhakti, and then we can also apply this principle in bhakti, right? When we are going to, if we have some particular offering that we want to make to Krishna or Krishna's devotees, then we can question, you know, am I really doing this for Krishna, or am I doing this because I want some particular result for myself, right? How much is my ego involved in this service offering? Is my ego attached to a particular result? You know, that I want to impress people, I want to impress others, I want to attract more respect for myself. I'm going to achieve a particular goal in my service life, right? Is that what it's about? No. Or is it that we sincerely want to make this an offering and our ego's not involved? And sometimes, you know, we may think our ego's not involved, but in a subtle way it is, you know, like for example, let's say we've just prepared a beautiful feast. We've cooked, we've toiled for hours in the kitchen. We've been, you know, laboring over so many elaborate, fine dishes. And then that gets offered to the Lord, and then it gets distributed, you know, to our friends, the devotees. And then somebody says, oh, this is such a delicious, you know, feast, such a wonderful feast, you know, so-and-so is such a good cook. You know, referring to somebody else, right? You know, so let's say I did the cooking, and somebody says, "Oh, Divya Shakti is such a good cook," and I'm thinking to myself, "Hang on, I'm the one who did all that work. I'm the one who went shopping. I'm the one who was in the kitchen for so many hours, and now they're giving all the credit to Divya Shakti. What is this?" And sometimes we may be surprised within ourselves. Oh, wow, I didn't know that ego was there. Like I thought I was just, you know, we may be in some illusion of devotion too. Like, oh, I just making a humble offering for the devotees, and I'm so happy to do it, you know. And then something.
Did she freeze for everyone or just me?
Yes,
shoot.
please.
Can we hear from Divya Shakti, Didi, please?
Hi, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, you can
Yes,
be heard,
Dhanabad,
Divya
Didi.
Shakti.
Ahmedabad, Didi.
Please share something with us.
I just, I didn't hear what Vishaka said just the last moment ago. Cause I just got here. I was left my house in the car, just got to the temple. So I don't know what's going on, but I'm very honored to be here with all of you, speaking about the Bhagavad Gita. And I heard a saying about real service, about not doing it for ourselves, but doing it for the Lord. having a pure motive behind what we're doing. So we just have to, that is actually the devotees' greatest fear, to think that Gurudev is not accepting my service. So we have to always pray to Gurudev for mercy and always keep ourselves humble. And, that's the safest position. Wow, okay.
Thank you, Divi Shakti Didi. I'm
You're
sorry, my laptop just suddenly crashed for some reason. I don't know why.
Oh, really? Well,
Yeah.
I'm here. Oh,
Dandavad.
Dandavad, Didi. So you're not on? You can't see anything?
No, I'm on now, but I had to log into my phone. Yeah,
Oh,
I'm back. Yeah.
okay.
Thank you, Didi.
Dandavad.
And I see Dandavat, and I see Dana's also joined us, and also Jayadev. So welcome. So yeah, so sometimes in our active life of attempting to serve, these kinds of examinations like spot tests, POC tests, they'll come up, and we may be surprised, we thought we were doing something in a very selfless mood, but actually our ego was involved, maybe in a subtle way, maybe in the background, but it was there. And it's helpful for us. They're actually helpful opportunities for us to adjust ourselves. I always like to quote E.M. Forster, how do I know what I think until I see what I say? Right? How do I know what I think until I see what I say? There are so many subtle or gross material ideas that are floating within our system. And sometimes a purging process is required, for them to come out and for us to be free of them. And so being a part of a community, to whatever degree is possible, is very helpful in that regard, because we have these interactions with others, and it allows for these ideas within ourselves to become exposed, and then we can correct ourselves, we can adjust ourselves. And oh gosh, I'm embarrassed. I didn't know I thought like that, but now let me get rid of that. This is not helpful. So yeah, so anyway, so this teaching is and then also what also comes up in our service life sometimes is that if we think that we're not being acknowledged in what we're doing, then we may be tempted to give it up, right? This is what's also being warned of in the verse. Like, because you're not entitled to the results of your action, you shouldn't be tempted, you shouldn't be inclined to give up your action altogether, right? So we may experience that in our service life sometimes, that we're not getting the acknowledgement we want, and we may find we don't have the same inspiration. Oh, suddenly I don't really feel inspired. And of course, for when we are at an immature stage, then we need to have that encouragement and acknowledgement, and like that's one way in which we encourage children, right? That we need to encourage them, and it's really important that they're acknowledged. That really inspires them to do more and to be more. So of course, at a certain stage, we need that, right? But we also want to get to a level of maturity where we're not so dependent on that, right? Where we have enough inner inspiration, inner drive, inner faith, where we're not dependent on being acknowledged or not. That we feel enough of a connection within ourselves that even if nobody's recognizing what we're doing, we're still inspired to do it, right? That's where we want to get to. Obviously, ideally, we can be in an environment where we are being appreciated. We want that kind of association, but we don't want to be fully dependent upon that, right? We want to have enough attachment within our hearts that we can carry on without that and feel satisfied by that. There's a really nice quote of Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada where he mentions something like this, saying how Krishna consciousness movement is for developing independent thinkers in Krishna consciousness, something like that, you know, like we're not all meant to be like automatums, you know, part of the machine, and, you know, but like everyone should be developing their own inner inspiration, inner attachment. And then we don't need to be, you know, on the billboard, you know, or in the front seat or whatever it may be. But that, you know, we have enough inner taste, inner connection, this level of depth of faith, the depth of faith. Faith is our real wealth, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj says. We want to grow in that. And then also, you know, in our service life, you know, then we may face different challenges, different tests at times where we're confronted with a decision, you know, to do something that will benefit us and perhaps not others, you know, or what will benefit our prestige, right? Our position, our influence, right? Or what is good for Krishna, what is truly for Krishna's interest and for the devotees of Krishna. You know, and may be against our individual interest, right? These kinds of examinations will also come. So, you know, it's what's being described here is a kind of integrity, actually. I'm thinking about it. It's a kind of spiritual integrity, you know, that we are doing the right thing, you know, in consonance with the higher interest, regardless of, you know, how it will affect our popularity score. You know, that can be, you know, a real distraction, you know, that's another topic, you know, related also, but, you know, getting too wrapped up in our popularity rating. Because, you know, often the public, they're fickle, the general public are fickle, right? And one day they like you, the next day they don't like you. And one of my good friends, Isha Bandhu Prabhu in Australia, he was joking with me the other day that I should publish a website with a poll on it. With a poll, you know, how's Vishaka doing today? How much do people like me today? Or what do you think I did right? What do you think I did wrong? How's my popularity score today? This is how politicians think, right? This is how politicians think. So we can't get too wrapped up in that. You know, we are trying to adhere to what is truly, you know, the interest of the Lord, the saints. You know, we want to be on the right path. And sometimes that may make us popular, sometimes it may make us unpopular. But if we must follow our inner conscience and the direction of, you know, higher guides. Chintavati. I would become, if I went down that route, I'd be totally corrupted. I'd lose whatever particle of spiritual aspiration I have, you know, I would lose it if I went down that route. So that's that verse, very important verse, quoted so often by our gurus. Does anyone want to add any thoughts to what we've just discussed or to this verse?
Yes, Vishika, Didi, I would like to just say that I had a thought on this, and that is I was very much victim of this since I was a teenager. I've been a victim of this, you know, like the popularity one may have in like high school, etc., and that carried over. Like these days, I'm thinking, oh, you know, I feel like I get more respect in the material world, but I guess the object of bhakti is to get recognition from Krishna, not and the devotees, you know, for devotional activities and etc. Things, not to get wrapped up in fame, popularity, respect that we can easily get in the material world for doing something material, but
Mm.
to really be seen by Krishna. This is the lesson I'm learning now also, that,
Mm.
and I also have this false ego of mine that because I'm a devotee, I have to do something really big to show the world that, you know, because I'm a devotee, I can do something really big in the sense that, but what I really need to focus on is just pleasing Krishna and serving the devotees right now. And,
Mm.
what I need to do will be revealed to me. So I just wanted to state
Mm.
that as my reflection.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Narottam, for sharing that. And these are all human issues that we all deal with, right? Recently I was on a flight somewhere, and there was I think it was when I was flying to America, and there were some guys sitting maybe behind me, and they were talking about some like expedition or something, and some like major dangerous expedition. And one of the guys said, I don't need to prove myself to anyone. Like I don't want to risk going on such a dangerous expedition, like just because I want to make a name for myself. So I don't need to prove myself to anyone. And I really, they were just talking about something very ordinary, but I really appreciated that comment, that, we want to make authentic progress in Krishna consciousness. We're not out to make a big show. Marie has a comment here too. Yeah, it's something we all struggle with, right? So, like we want to make authentic progress, and we don't need to make a demonstration of that to the world, of what we can do. Like sometimes I think too about Gurudev, like there are so many things he could have done, but he didn't do them just because he didn't think it was necessary. Like if he wanted to make a name for himself in the world in a serious way, he could have done that. Like he really could have. He was invited to be the president of this big World Vaishnava Association. And another thing which I noted about, and he humbly declined for various reasons. But he didn't think it was the authentic thing for him to do, basically. And other things I saw too, like our Gurudev, he was an incredible poet. His Srila Gurudev's Sanskrit compositions, they're very high level. Krishnadas Babaji, a god brother of Srila Sridhar Maharaj, he described Srila Sridhar Maharaj's writing as being on the level of Rupa Goswami, right? One of our principal gurus in this line, and is known for very fine, sophisticated Sanskrit poetry. And that same Krishnadas Babaji, he would confuse our guru's writings with Sridhar Maharaj's writings. And there was even a case where he didn't believe that our Gurudev had really written it because it was so good. And our Gurudev actually sat down and kind of did it on the spot, demonstration to show that it was true. So, but he was very restrained in how and what he would write. One time he mentioned how he had inspiration to compose a poem describing the kirtan, the Sankirtan scene of Lord Chaitanya and his companions. And he said, but then I saw that another Vaishnava had already done so, Prabodhananda Saraswati, so I did not. That was what he said. And I was thinking, like, gosh, Gurudev, like, we would have been happy to see your version too. Would have been very happy to see that. But it was like he felt it would be a little disrespectful, like crossing over, eclipsing what another Vaishnava saint had done. He wanted to leave that full honor to what had been done. No, there's no need for me to come out and, So like this, he only did what was necessary, if it was necessary, when it was necessary for service. But if he wanted to, promote himself more, become bigger, promote his mission more. He could have easily done so, make more of a name for himself. He could have easily done so. But he was doing what was authentic when needed, if needed. So, you know, he never needed to prove himself. And I saw other occasions too, like once he was invited to be a guest of honor at this prestigious institution, and for whatever reason, he wasn't that inspired to go. And there was also this was like, and this is when now we have a very beautiful big temple in West London, but this was before then. We had this tiny little place in a rough area of East London. And then the kids were planning to put on a play, like a simple home play, some drama. And so our Gurudev, he declines that invitation, said, oh, the children are putting on a play. You know, like this is like a little backyard home show he's talking about. You know, he's like, the children are putting on a play, you know, so I cannot attend. You know, that was how he responded to them. You know, and I just love that. I appreciate that so much. It's so authentic. You know? So he was never about like the appearance, the image, being on the front cover, but what's real, you know, what's authentic. You know, so, and you know, I can also say that, you know, life experience, even like if we don't have that wisdom naturally, then life experience can also teach us that. You know, like I've seen, you know, not that I've seen so much. I'm not that old yet, but you know, I've seen enough of times, you know, persons jumping forward too quickly, too soon, and trying to make some show, but there's no real foundation there. And then there's some break, you know, there's some fall, right? So the foundation must be strong. The foundation must be real. Our progress must be real, not imagination. And so we have to have that kind of awareness of what's appropriate for us and what's our purpose in all of this, right? It's not to show anything to others, but to do what is desired by the higher plane. And the higher plane may want to use us in different ways, right? We are just like, we want to be puppets in that higher wave. You know, like that line of when Swami Maharaj Prabhupada, the founder of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, when he first came to the West, you know, with a few dollars in his pocket, 69 years old, you know, he wrote these beautiful prayers. And one of the lines I think of sometimes, he says, oh, you know, Krishna, I am your puppet. If you want to make me dance, you can make me dance, you can make me dance. You know, if you want to make me dance, you can make me dance. And if you don't want to make me dance, then I won't dance. That's okay too. I'm your servant, I'm your puppet. You know, what is your will? I want to be a part of that. That's the show I want to be a part of. And if I'm playing the role of the quiet person in the corner, then I'm happy with that. If you want me to shift to the person in the limelight, then I can do that too. But it's all the same for me, actually. You know, the important thing is I have your love, your blessings upon me. You know, that I'm in the flow, I'm connected to that current. You know, that's what's meaningful. So, you know, staying in our authentic place, you know, staying in our lane, as my mother likes to say. We want to stay in our own lane. You know, we want to understand what that lane is and stay in that lane. And if we are practicing properly, then we'll get more than enough inspiration and nourishment from doing that. You know. There's one, Narottam Prabhu, you also reminded me of one. There's one line of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, which our Gurudev liked to quote, Vaishnavi Pratishta Tate Koronishta. Saying that normally Pratishta means like renown or ego. And normally it's used in a negative sense. But there's also a positive expression of ego. And so here Saraswati Thakur says that I am the servant of a Vaishnava. That is the ego that I want to hold. that I am the servant of a Vaishnava, that the higher Vaishnava, the higher saint is pleased with me. That, as you were saying, I want approval from that quarter. I'm not going to do a, United States popularity poll, but what's my guru's poll? The higher Vaishnava. What's there? Are they happy with me? If the whole world is upset with me, but the Lord and Guru, they're happy with me, then I'm happy with that. That's all I need. If I have their stamp of approval, then I'm good. And then, that is something that we struggle with. I struggle with that too, because we have that ego of wanting to be liked, wanting to be admired, wanting to be respected from everyone. So that's the kind of ego in us that we need to break. We only need approval from one line, from one source. And if they're happy, then our Gurudev, and by the way, welcome. I saw Chaitanya Daya has joined us. Great to have you with us again. Welcome. Oh, and Ramaswarup is also here. It also joined us. Dandavat Ramaswarup. Well, now I lost my goldfish brain. I forgot what I was going to say. I can't remember what I was going to say, but I think I probably already said it in 10 different ways. Anyone else want to add any thought to the conversation before we close for today? Oh, I was just saying, that, yeah, we all have that human desire to be liked, to be approved of, but it's just an expression of ego, actually. And of course, we want to have friendly, loving exchanges, relationships with our community, with our friends. But if we have to make a decision, then we have to follow the direction of the higher plane, even if it is not understood by others, our so-called friends. We are slaves to the truth, as Srila Sridhar Maharaj says. We are slaves of the truth, the pure current of truth that is always flowing. We are slaves to that. I'll just finish with one final story of our Gurudev, which is a very nice example, I think, of what we were discussing, this mood of humility and not needing to make a demonstration. But this is a well-known story in our community. Many of you know this already, probably. Our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj, he was invited to give a talk at some society. This was in was it Switzerland? Maybe Devi Shakti remembers. It might have been Switzerland. So it was just a small country in Europe. And there was this was someone else's mission. And so the guy who was heading it up, he gave some introductory talk to introduce our Gurudev, but he went on far too long and he spoke about himself for far too long. And he was a very educated gentleman, had a number of degrees, PhDs, he traveled around the world, and he had some arrogance about that. And so he spoke quite a bit about himself, then finally turned things over to our Gurudev. And our Gurudev began in his characteristically humble, sweet style, saying, "Oh, I'm just a simple village boy. I never completed my education. I'm from a very small village. There isn't even a road that goes through there." He would say things like that. There isn't even a road that goes through my village now, like that. And then he said, "But, by the grace of my guru, I learned something. And these are some of the things that I learned." And then he began, giving some discourse, and And he was quoting all of these elaborate Sanskrit shlokas, Sanskrit verses, like one after another after another. And we heard descriptions from persons who were there, and they said that they observed how this man, as he's listening to our Gurudev, he was like kind of sinking into his sea, like further and further and further. Because he was realizing, he's feeling ashamed that he'd presented himself with so much hubris. But our Gurudev, on the other hand, presented himself in such a humble manner, but he was so much more qualified. And our Gurudev, he was carrying all this knowledge and all this spiritual wealth, but he wasn't breaking it out on the table, on every occasion. No, it was something he kept hidden. And if necessary, then he would come out and share that in the spirit of service and sharing. But that wasn't at the forefront. No, that wasn't, it was, with our Gurudev, the exchange was always based on affection, on service need, on nourishment, these more essential things. He wasn't out to prove to anyone that he was a great scholar, and so on and so forth. But when necessary, when needed, then he would come out with that in a sweet manner, humble manner. So we want to have that authentic spirit and devotion. We want to be used by the higher agent when and if they desire. And if not, then we're happy to humbly carry on. Tadasa dasa dasanam dasatvam dehi me prabhu. Raghunath Das Goswami. May I have the aspiration for servitude, to be the servant of the servant of the servant, this mood of humility. Oh, Dana, thank you for your sweet message. And we're always so happy to have your sweet presence with us. Yeah. Well, we have just reached our time. It's been a wonderful meeting. Thank you for letting me run my mouth. Would anyone like to share any final thoughts? Or should we ask Ganga? Did Gangalila make it? Gangalila is here. Yeah, Gangalila is with us. Gangalila, do you want to pray us out? Oh, we can't hear you. You're muted.
Yes. Thank you so much. And to me, what you said about running your mouth, I don't think so. There's something else running there, and I appreciate that so much. Thanks for your presence, and sorry that I was late. And then I just ask everybody to unmute and chant the Maha Mantra, and may we be engulfed in the musings of the higher Vaishnava thinking. And Jai Gurudev.
Jai Gurudev.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna,
Hare
Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare
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 Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Jai to the assembled devotees, Jai to the Gurus, Jai to Vishaka Didi Maharaj Ki Jai.
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 Oh, and I also do have a mini announcement that unfortunately I've double booked, and I have a flight at this time next Thursday. And I'm flying from San Jose to I'm flying from Austin to San Jose. But Madhusudan Maharaj, who's one of the current initiating gurus in our family, he's kindly agreed to do the class. So you have a special guest speaker next Thursday.
Wonderful.
Doing the Bhagavad Gita. And he seems quite excited about it.
Happy
Okay.
travels to you, Vishaka Didi. Stay safe and take care of that insect bite.
you.
Did you-
It's a
did you
lot
put-
better. It's a lot.
Did you
Just
put the tilak on it? Is that tilak or?
bentonite clay.
Oh,
Bentonite.
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, it's a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, you take good care.
Thank you.
Blessings. Thank you for your
Guys,
presence.
okay. So I'll look forward to seeing you all in actually maybe I'll be in Ireland. I think maybe I'll be in Ireland the next time. We'll have to work out the dates. Right. But I'll see you in 2 weeks. Jai Shri Guru Dev, Jai Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Here's Kunti.
Jai.
Yay!
Hard at
Bye.
work in the garden. Shakti.
Dandavad.
Send 'em a-